Hello fellow makeup lovers, how are you guys doing today? I am super excited for this video because I thought it'd be fun to go ahead and talk about some of my favorite indie makeup products that have actually replaced a product in my routine that used to be a mainstream makeup product from a brand that's not independently owned. Just products that I used to think were holy grail. I used to rave about them, swear by them, and now they have been replaced. I think that there have been some videos similarly here on YouTube, like about makeup that's been dethroned. I can't remember who started it, but I feel like I've seen Samantha March and maybe Samantha Ravindall both do these kind of videos. If I can find out who was the original creator of this type of video, I will link them down below. But this one is a little bit of a twist since it's all mainstream being replaced by indie. So before we jump in, if you are new to my channel, hello, my name is Amy and I love talking about indie makeup brands on my channel, specifically small makeup brands that are independently owned and helping you out to be an informed consumer on whether those products are worth your money or not. So if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Now let's go ahead and jump right on in. Okay, so the first product I have to talk about is the Becca First Light Priming Filter, and I used to love this primer so much. It is a little bit more on the expensive side, but it does last for a really long time, and I feel like it just adds a really beautiful glow to my skin. One of the things I really liked about this was the color. Since it is a little bit of a lighter shade, it doesn't show through my foundations, whereas I found a lot of other primers that people were recommending that were glowy had more of a bronze tint to them, and it kind of looked like the Tin Man face on me because I'm so fair that I just couldn't pull that off. Even when I was putting foundation over it, it would change the shade of my foundation. So I really have liked this for a long time. I can't remember if this is my second or third bottle, but I will no longer be repurchasing it because it has been replaced by the Danessa Myricks Prism FX Hydrating Lotion. I love this primer so much. I love the shade even more because it's like a really pale white with a pinky iridescence to it, and it does have kind of a lotiony feel to it. It feels really nice on the skin when you blend it in. And I feel like you can truly see it when you put foundation over it. It really does change the finish of the foundation, and it just makes every foundation that I have look that much more glowy and beautiful, and I just feel like this is such a nice primer. It has a very subtle sweet scent to it, so if you are sensitive to fragrances, that is something to keep in mind. This is the primer that I'm wearing today, and I just absolutely love the formula of this one. It is only half an ounce. Well, it's actually 0.53, so tiny bit over half an ounce. So it's way less product than the Becca one. I think this one is a full ounce if I remember correctly. So that one is a full fluid ounce, so it's way more product, but this one's about half the price. So it's not really like I'm saving money or anything. I just prefer this formula, and I think Danessa Myricks is an amazing makeup artist, and I'm happy to support her brand. Okay, so I have another primer to mention, and this one's actually an eye primer, and this is going to be the Anastasia Beverly Hills Eye Primer, and I just have the mini size, which actually does last an incredibly long time. You do get a lot of bang for your buck with this particular eyeshadow primer, and I don't know if I've ever called it Holy Grail before, but I do know that I used it for months and months and months, and this was the eyeshadow primer I was using every single day. I will say that it does crease, and every single time I do my makeup, I do my eyeshadow primer, and before I'd start with my eyeshadow, I would have to go in and correct it and make sure that everything was not creasing and just smooth it back over with a brush or with my finger, which isn't that big of a deal, but it is a little extra step. So I'm glad to have found a formula that I'm replacing with this that doesn't do that, that doesn't crease, even if it's been sitting for a little bit before I put the actual eyeshadows down. So the eyeshadow primer that has been replaced by is the Crow and Pebble Blank Page Eyeshadow Primer. I absolutely love this eyeshadow primer. It's in the shade Parchment, and there are multiple shades, which is really nice. It's a really good shade range for being a very small indie brand. They are based in Scotland, and here is what it looks like. You can see I've used quite a bit of this. This just applies really smoothly. You only need a little bit. It adds a bit of coverage while also just creating really even canvas, and everything just blends perfectly and super easy on top of this. I just feel like it's an all-around really nice eyeshadow primer. I also do like it being in a pot. It's super easy to apply, but it's also not overly drying. It's way less dry than the MAC paint pots. So I really love this formula, and I think if I remember correctly, it's like €6, which is super affordable. I think that's like less than $10. I do see myself going through this a bit faster than the Anastasia one, but again, I'm happy to support a small business. Okay, so the next product that used to be a holy grail for me is the RCMA No Color Powder, and I'm actually not sure if RCMA is owned by a company or if they're independently owned, actually, now that I think about it, but I'm gonna go ahead and slip it in this video anyways, and I'll do some research and leave it in the description box in a little bit. But this is a powder that I bought years ago because Kathleen Lights raved about it and it being a really good formula for dry skin, and I do still agree with those claims. I think that this is one of the best powders I have for dry skin and to set the skin without it looking cakey or emphasizing the dryness that you have if you do have dry skin. So I really like this, and you can see I've used quite a bit of it, and that's like years. I don't go through powder very often. I use a tiny bit of powder every time I do my face, and I don't set my full face. I just set some very specific areas. I'm actually kind of over this powder though. I know it's a powder, but it is super old. I hate the packaging on this, and I have a powder that I like more than it now, which is the Give Me Glow Cosmetics setting powder. This is the shade Powdered Sugar. They have a few shades available, and I just absolutely love this. For one, the packaging is so much nicer. Like, this little like seasoning packaging is just ridiculous. It's so annoying to use. So this one already has a 1-up on it. This one cost a little bit more, and it has like a third of the amount of product as the RCMA, so that's something to keep in mind. But I will say that the formula of this does not emphasize any dryness either, and it has the most beautiful blurring effect to the skin. I'm wearing it today, and I mean, you can't really tell unless you're watching me apply it, like the before and after, but this just sets the skin in a way that is so blurring and so flattering, and if I have any texture at all, I'm breaking out. This is a must-have to set the skin, and I use it underneath my eyes. I just think it looks so beautiful, so flawless. It's the best powder I've ever tried in my life, so this is definitely holy grail status now. So I feel a little bad because I have multiple Anastasia Beverly Hills products to mention today, but this one at least is limited edition and you can't purchase it anymore. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills and Amrezy Highlighter, and I love this highlighter. First of all, the packaging is beautiful, and then the actual highlight inside makes me so happy because this highlight works on so many skin tones. It's just like the perfect color, and even being super fair, I was able to make this work as long as I kind of blend it back into my cheekbones a little bit. The formula is really nice. It just looks super wet on the skin, and I feel like this definitely deserved the hype, but you can't buy it anymore, so I don't mention it as often in videos. And also I have some really similar products from indie brands I wanted to mention, so I'm actually going to do swatches for this one so you can see the color difference, because I don't think the colors are exact dupes, but I'm kind of going between the color and the formula. So there is what the Amrezy highlighter looks like. It's just a really beautiful soft golden tone without being like a yellowy gold. It's just such a nice highlight. I love how it looks on the cheeks. So a formula that I would say is very similar is the Nabla Cosmetics Skin Glazing Highlighter, and I think that they actually do have a shade in this formula that looks very similar to the Amrezy one. I can't remember the shade, but I don't own that one because it looked a little bit too dark for me. I do have the shade Ozone, and this one is another kind of light gold, and I feel like the formula of these, even I don't know if you can tell just from how they look in the pan, very similar the way that they feel. There is Ozone, and as you can see, it's a little bit less gold than Amrezy, but it has like the exact same texture to it. So you could try this one if you like this shade, or you could try one of their other shades and get a very similar look on the skin. So I love this highlighter from Nabla. And then another highlight that I absolutely love that gives me Amrezy vibes is from the Juvias Place Queen Palette, which was their collaboration with Fumi. This isn't available anymore either. It was limited edition, but if you do already own this, this could be your encouragement to pull it back out, or maybe you could find it cheap on Mercari or something, I don't know. But this shade right here, called FDV Approved, is very similar to the Amrezy in my opinion. Yeah, I should have swatched those two together, but there's what FDV Approved looks like. It's like maybe like 1 hint lighter than the Amrezy highlighter, but you can see that it is pretty similar Texture is not exactly the same. I would say that the FTV approved is a little bit more creamy. Either way, on the cheeks, they all look very, very similar and give the same kind of effect. Today, I am wearing the NABLA highlighter. Okay, so the next product I wanted to mention, I actually don't have a tube of with me right now because I finished up my last one, but that is going to be the Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara. I have really loved that mascara for a hot minute, and just because I feel like it does a lot for my lashes, because I don't have crazy lashes. I have very tiny little lashes and they are orange, so I try and do the best that I can with whatever mascara. And also, I feel like there's so many amazing drugstore mascaras, but so many of them are not cruelty free, so I've just been buying the Too Faced one for the longest time whenever I could get it on sale or get a good discount. But I have found an indie replacement that I absolutely love, and that is the We Makeup More mascara. I absolutely love this, and honestly, it's not that similar to the Better Than Sex mascara. Like, the wand's completely different, the look of the mascara is completely different, but this is the one that I really like and I plan on repurchasing. Actually, I also really like the Thrive Cosmetics one too, which kind of gives you similar vibes to the Better Than Sex mascara as well. And Thrive is independently owned if you're looking for another good option, but one of the reasons I absolutely love this mascara is that it is extremely black and intense. Like, it's one of the most pigmented mascaras I've seen, and because I do have orange lashes, I appreciate that so much, because even when I look down, a lot of times, like with most mascaras, I can still see the orange on my lashes, but with this, I feel like it really, really coats them, and the wand is a little bit smaller. I don't know if you can see there. So I feel like I can really get in my lashes without worrying about getting mascara all over, and it's just really easy to use. Perfect for the lower lashes as well. This one gives a lot more length than the Better Than Sex mascara. I feel like that one's more about volume, but I just really like the look of this one, and I don't really feel the need to buy the Too Faced one anymore. Okay, so next I have a lipstick formula that I used to be obsessed with, and that is going to be the ColourPop Luxe lipsticks. This is their cream formula, I want to say is what it's called. Yes, it says creme. It's the creme formula, not cream. All the rose gold ones back there are this formula, and I really love it because this is a formula that is super creamy, satiny on the lips, and also it does not emphasize my dry lips, which I appreciate so much, because certain bullet lipsticks, I'll put them on and they'll like cling to any dry patches or any like chapped areas of my lips, and it's just super unflattering, and I don't like to wear them, and I'll take them off and like throw on a gloss always. But this was the first formula I found that really did not do that at all, that actually made my lips look better when I applied it. So I loved these. This particular shade that I pulled out is called What's Your Sign, which is a really pretty nude lipstick for me. This was a collaboration between Kathleen Lights and ColourPop, so I'm not sure if that's available anymore, but you can see it's a really beautiful color, and I'm just here for this formula all around. But I have not been purchasing any more of these, specifically because I'm kind of on a break from ColourPop, and also how many lipsticks do you need? But I have found a formula that I feel is very, very similar that does the same thing, where it gives a really creamy satin finish. It looks really good on the lips even if they're dry, and that is going to be the Propa Beauty lipsticks. The shades that I have here are Victress and Finesse, which I am affiliated with Propa Beauty, just to throw it out there, so you can use my code AMYLOVES to save money off, but I did buy these two myself, and they are beautiful. They have an entire line of warm nude shades for every skin tone, although they were specifically made for deep skin tones in mind, but I think everyone can wear them. These are my two favorites, and they, like I said, they're the same kind of finish. The shades are just going to be different. This one right here is called Finesse, which is the one that I'm wearing on my lips right now. I feel like these just last beautifully, and they're just everything I need for a creamy bullet lipstick, and also being really beautiful nude shades. And then that one right there is called Victress. So I wanted to go ahead and mention these. I know, like I said, that the shades are not going to be dupes or anything like that, but if you do love the ColourPop cream formula, I highly recommend these. I feel like they're super similar. If you don't love that formula, then I wouldn't recommend these because they're super similar. Okay, so lastly, I've mentioned this so many times just passing through like conversation during my videos, that I don't go for eyeshadow palettes from mainstream brands as often, because I just feel like majority of the time, even if the mattes are okay, the shimmers just leave me super disappointed. They're very lackluster compared to indie shimmers. And so I was going through my collection, I'm like, is there anything that I can specifically say was replaced other than just saying like mainstream eyeshadow palettes in general? And I think the one brand that I can really say for this. Again, I'm sorry, so much Anastasia here, but that would be my Anastasia Beverly Hills neutral palette. And I feel like I used to justify these because they were really good color stories, great neutrals for every day, and they get a lot of hype. So I've had these in my collection for a while, but I don't think I would ever buy another Anastasia palette again, just because I feel like the formula ends up being kind of lackluster, especially for the shimmers. The mattes are okay, but the shimmers just leave me like unhappy. And I even did buy the Jackie Aina palette, and although the color story was really pretty, I just wasn't that big of a fan of the shimmers in there, and I just felt like compared to the shadows that I already have in my collection, it was nothing special. So I did end up selling that one to a friend, and I think that's definitely my cue that these palettes have been replaced, and I don't see myself buying any more of these, even if the color story is something I live and breathe for. So I wanted to show you some neutral palettes from indie brands that I feel have replaced kind of where this would be in my collection. This isn't a perfect science because, like I said, it's kind of indie shadows in general, but I am obsessed with the neutrals that I have from Sydney Grace Cosmetics. I feel like they blend so beautifully. The mattes are just so easy to blend, like 110% recommend the formula. And then the shimmers are incredibly metallic. They're not as sparkly as like a lot of indie singles, but they are so beautiful on the lids. And when I compare them to the shimmers that are in the Anastasia palettes, like there's just no comparison. Like they just win every time. So I have 3 palettes here that I thought I'd mention. This first one is the Summer Days palette, which is what I have on my eyes today. And this is kind of like a neutral palette that's very neutral. There's like one pop of warmth, but overall it doesn't lean too cool or too warm. It's just kind of right in the middle. So it's a very classic neutral palette, and I do really love the formulas and the colors in here, and the shimmers are just incredible. I also pulled out the Tiny Marvels palette. Although this one does have pops of color, I do appreciate the more like grungy, mustardy, yellowy shades. There's some nice cool tones and like some rose gold shimmery lid shades, which I really appreciate. I think those are nice staple shadows. And then the Enduring Love palette is where I'd go to more for my cool toned neutrals. So I just love these. Let's do a little comparison between Soft Glam and Summer Days. I have this bronze shade here and this sultry shade from the Soft Glam palette. So those aren't too bad as far as the Anastasia shimmers go, but just showing the Sydney Grace metallics in comparison. You see the difference in like the level of shine? Speaks for itself. Also go ahead and do Rose Pink real quick. See how lackluster that is? Compare that to this Rose Gold called Marvel. See that? Or we can even do this one too, because this one's a little bit more pinky. Like, you just can't compete with that. Like, they win. Guys, so those are all the products I wanted to mention in today's video. I would be so curious to hear if you have any indie products that replaced mainstream Holygrails for you. I mean, that could definitely be something where I end up making a haul from your comments. That would be super fun. So please let me know, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.